بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد سيد الخلق أجمعين. اللهم ربنا اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وارحمنا، اللهم ربنا عافنا واعف عنا، اللهم ربنا اجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين، اللهم ربنا ارحمنا واغفر لنا وأنت العزيز وأنت الكريم. Inshallah, today we continue on with Surah Saba. Surah Saba, the surah number 34 in the sequence from the beginning, and the juz' number 22. And we are in the ayah number 14. As a quick reminder of the few ayat before, starting from the ayah number 10 all the way, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as I mentioned to you earlier, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the surah mentioned the two versions of or types of the behavior of humankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought in clear examples of the two types of nations, two types of people, revolving around the shukr and the gratitude, the shukr, and the ata, the giving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how is this law controls earth, controls all what's in earth, or the whole universe practically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayah number 10, all the way to ayah number 14, is talking about a specific period of time where, look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving an example. It's like, look what we have done, given Ali Dawood. We've given Ali Dawood so much amazing wealth, amazing control of earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dawood that the echoing of the mountains and the control of or made the iron of the steel pliable and easy and soft for him to control, and as well as he gave him the biggest ni'mah, a good child, a good son, Sulaiman alayhi salam, and gave Sulaiman even more than what he has given his father Dawood. He gave him the control of the wind, and he gave him a running spring of copper that he could scoop from, that he could use. And he also gave him something amazing that have never happened before, and possibly never happened after, which is the control of the jinn. And the jinn used to do amazing things for him. To what point? To what amazing level Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kept on giving Ali Dawood. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, اعملوا آل داود شكرا وقليل من عبادي الشكور. Oh you, the people of Dawood, oh you are the ones who belong to the tribe of Dawood, oh you are the ones who are the family of Dawood, اعملوا شكرا, work with the gratitude, work with a beneficial, eventful, useful things as a form of gratitude. And the more you do, the more shukr you show, the more gratitude you do, the more I will give you. To what point? And this is when the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned here, the ayah number 14, and the last ayah in this subject. When Sulaiman alayhi salam, look at the how conclusion of the giving, look what happened. فَلَمَّا قَضَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَوْتِ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made qadar and qada, when he made it applicable to him that he get to die, when he will be dead. Sulaiman alayhi salam, everybody got to die. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a promise. He says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ, every nafs will taste death, every nafs. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hayy, he doesn't die. Everything else is not like him, it has to die. This is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Sulaiman alayhi salam, he was given a long life, prosperous life, good life, but he has to die at the end. Look what happened. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained or made applicable upon him the death, مَا دَلَّهُمْ, and he's still talking about the jinn, because this ayah before is talking about what the jinn could do for him. مَا دَلَّهُمْ عَلَى مَوْتِهِ, did not clue them in about his death, except دَابَّةُ الْأَرْضِ تَأْكُلُ مِنْ سَأَتَهُ, except the dabba. The dabba, we talked about it. Dabba means an animal, an animal that runs or walks around the earth. From the word dabba. Dabba means that thumps on the earth. You notice that every single animal on the face of this earth has some kind of thumping noise, some kind of place that he will he will leave behind when he walks around to leave a trace that he exists or he's there, thumps. Some people say that's not always true, like snakes don't have it, or crawling, or crawling insects. That's not true. Every animal, every insect, everything that is walks the face of this earth, or even in the water, has to have a trace, has to have some kind of, something to trace that he's thumping. You know. Now, this dabbit or the thumping animal, thumping insect of earth, which is basically has been translated into a termite, right? A termite that kind of thumps inside the earth. When Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained upon him death, nothing clued them in that he's dead, except this termite, dabbatul ard, it's eating its minsa'ah. Minsa'ah. What is minsa'ah? Minsa'ah is a cane or a stick made out of wood. And some people say, why is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used the word asa for Musa alayhi salam and word minsa'ah for Sulaiman alayhi salam? And they're both basically asa. This is a stick and this is a stick. Well, very simple. Because the purpose of the stick will actually will tell you what name you'd use for it. For instance, what did Musa alayhi salam in Surah Taha say? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he asked him, he said, وَمَا تِلْكَ بِيَمِينِكَ يَا مُوسَى قال هي عصاي أتوكأ عليها وأهش بها على غنمي ولي فيها مآرب أخرى. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, what is that in your hand, Ya Musa? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows more than him. Musa alayhi salam answered, he says, this is my asa. And أتوكأ عليها, I lean on it. وأهش بها على غنمي, I make hash on my ghanam, on my sheep. Hash as to, I direct them to go in this direction, that direction. وَلِيَ فِيهَا مَآرِبُ أُخْرَى, and I have some other purposes of it. So the word asa, and you remember the source of the word clues you in. Asa means to disobey. And that's why we have an old saying in Arabic, we say, al-asa liman asa. The asa, the stick, to whom disobeyed. And the same word, asa, the same word. So what is the purpose? If the cane is used to make things, to force things into happening, to force the sheep into doing things for them, not to disobey, somebody, to make, the leaning or make something applicable or to have force, it has to bring things into uniformity, we'll use the word asa. But if the word minsa'a is different, the word minsa'a comes in from the word nasa'a. And it's mentioned in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, Inna nasi'a ziyadatun fil kufr. And nasi is delayance, to delay. And that's what the Arab before Jahiliyyah, before Islam, they used to delay things. For instance, when they had the 4 months of haram, which is no fighting or no war is happening in them, or they wanted to delay the months to say, no, we're not in Rajab, no, we're in Ramadan, we're not in Muharram, we're in this, we're in that, or whatever, according to their own desires, according to their own needs or whatever, they used to delay the months accordingly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the nasi kufr is more of the announcements of the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, so the minsa'a, it is a tool, which is a stick, it used to delay. To delay what? When somebody is old and he's using a stick, it delays his falling on the ground. It delays or stops him from, needing of somebody else, or delays and stops him from, not able to use his body in that meaning. So minsa'a here, even though it's a stick, but it's a different word altogether, it clues you in what the purpose of it is. Form of to delay something, to delay the body from deteriorating, delay somebody from feeling elder, delaying somebody from, leaning on somebody else, delaying somebody from being bedridden, and on in that meaning, right? So, dabbatul ard, the termite, what clue the فلما قضينا عليه الموت, when we, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ordained death upon Sulaiman alayhi salam, the jinn did not get a clue that he was dead, except the termite of the earth, it's eating his cane or his stick. فلما خر, when he fell, تبينت الجن, the jinn found out, or was clear to them, that if they knew the ghaib, they knew the unknown, the metaphysical, the unknown, they wouldn't have stayed in that the shameful, disgraceful, fil adabi al-muhin, in the torture, in the disgraceful or shameful torture. What is this picture? Now, I want to give you two meanings of this ayah. One meaning, which is the most common, is that you hear all the time, and especially in Tafsir al-Kathir and on, and especially the saying of Ibn Abbas and on. This is the kind of clear what you read from it. Well, look what happened. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Dawood alayhi salam, gave Sulaiman so much, including the jinn. And the jinn is the biggest accomplishment for them to be controlled. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, anybody who disobeys Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would torture him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would put him through some kind of torment for him to go back and to always obey Sulaiman alayhi salam. And all this giving, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained death upon Sulaiman alayhi salam, and this is the tafsir here, they did not know, they did not have a clue that he was dead, except for the fact that he was sitting on his throne, and he was leaning on his cane, on his minsa, which is delayed, delayance. In this case here, delayed what? Delayed the knowledge of the jinn of his death. That is the purpose of the cane, delayed. So he was leaning on it, but he was dead. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said the termites started to eat the cane. And when the cane was eaten, Sulaiman alayhi salam fell on the ground. فَلَمَّا خَرَّ, when he fell on the ground, when he collapsed and fell on the ground, and the jinn looked at each other and said, SubhanAllah, how we were working for Sulaiman alayhi salam for all this time, and they did not know that he was actually dead, but they were working, and they had no clue except this insect, this termite ate up his cane, and he collapsed on the ground. And then they found out, if they really knew the ghaib, they really knew the unknown, which is they thought they did, and that's a clue to us as mankind, is that the jinn don't know the unknown. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who knows the unknown, the metaphysical. And we talked about the ghaib. The ghaib is things that is, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained it to us in the meaning of either alimul ghaibi wa shahada. There's two different knowledge. The shahada, the one you witness, or the ghaib, the unknown, the unseen. The shahada, as us human beings, all what we know is what we witness, or somebody else has witnessed has informed us. But the ghaib to us is the unknown, the metaphysical. Either we are separated away from it, either by time or by space. Like, for instance, I don't know what's going on the other side of town because I'm not witnessing it. And I don't know what happened 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and I don't know what's going to happen 3 days from now. That is restricted for me because of time. That's ghaib, unknown to me, metaphysical. And everything that's witnessed will be known to us. That's shahada. So the jinn, they thought they know, or, for them to know the metaphysical, they know the future things, whatever, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deceived them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's informing us that the jinn don't know the unknown, the metaphysical. They did not know he was dead. The only thing that clued them in their dead is the actual physical collapse of Sulaiman alayhi salam off his throne. He fell on the ground. Some scholars said that the termite kept on eating his cane more than a year. 10 months to a year. Just kept on eating until completely chewed it all up, and Sulaiman alayhi salam fell on the ground, and that's what happened. Beautiful meaning. Beautiful meaning as to what? Look at the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave Sulaiman alayhi salam as the complete control of the jinn. The jinn had no way for them to even move 1 inch or within any wind, anything of their own knowledge, or they thought they knew, or they thought would do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given Sulaiman alayhi salam so much even after his death. Look at the power of gratitude, what will give people. Will give them actually the control, not only when they're alive, because the shukr is even after they die. And the only thing that made that control of earth and the jinn and this ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it stop is the fact that it was the physical element which is informed the jinn that Sulaiman alayhi salam no longer exists, so they don't have to be in that torturous jobs Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala casted upon them for them to do for Sulaiman alayhi salam. Beautiful meaning. Amazing. Amazing of the golden times of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. If we today do the same, if we make shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the same way as Ali Dawood did, wouldn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make taskhir, will give us the control of earth, resources, elements, treasures, wind, mountains, things in our hands? Absolutely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given us it. Look at the power of gratitude. Look at the power of shukr. You make shukr, I'll give you more. Another clue on this is the story where the best time as Bani Adam would be in, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam predicted for the future. He says the time when Isa alayhi salam will come back on the face of this earth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send him, he will destroy al-Masih al-Dajjal, and you will make him destroy the Ya'juj and Ma'juj. That's all the way until, at the end of time, where the 7 signs of the end of time. What's going to happen is this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what Isa alayhi salam will come. He will destroy the cross, he will kill the pig, and he will drop the jizya, no more jizya. In other words, everybody's a Muslim. So you're living in a Muslim community, society. There's no evildoers. There's no idol worshippers. There's no sun worshippers. Everybody will be worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What's going to happen at that time? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Tuba linnas, Tuba linnas, Tuba liman yashhad hada. Tuba is good thing whoever is going to witness that time, because that will be the amazing golden times in the future where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give, the earth will actually eject its treasures. You're going to find gold everywhere. You're going to find, resources, minerals. A small piece of land, it barely can bring a little bit of agricultural product, would be enough to feed a whole tribe. By the time you harvest, you start harvesting your field, which is probably a couple of acres or an acre or so. By the time you finish harvesting one side of it, the other side already produced. Just continue. Why? Because we're making gratitude. Because we're making shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're making ibadah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in exchange will give us more. The more shukr we do, the more giving will happen. And on like this. That's a beautiful meaning of this ayah. But there's one more meaning. We should look at it a little bit differently. In the same context, and we should not have these both meanings clashing against each other. Look what happened. فَلَمَّا قَضَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ الْمَوْتِ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained death upon him, مَا دَلَّهُمْ عَلَى مَوْتِهِ, they were not clued about his death, except the termite and earth, تَأْكُلُ, and look at the meaning here, it's eating its mensa, eating its steak. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, these are the people who objected to the first one, or they said that meaning is not 100%, because they said, is it possible for Sulaiman alayhi salam to be on his cane for a whole year? What happened to burying somebody so quickly, so fast? What is the respect? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَأَكْرَمَهُ فَأَقْبَرَهُ. Al-qabr, putting somebody in your grave, is part of the karama, part of the goodness of the human being. This, Sulaiman alayhi salam was sitting dead on his seat, on his throne for a year, for 10 months, for a year, until the termite actually was able to eat the cane, and then he collapsed and he fell. They objected to this. They say, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something meaning, maybe it's deeper meaning, maybe it's more profound meaning. And that's the meaning that I'm trying to bring up to you. So, look at the meaning here. فَلَمَّا خَرَّ. What clued in the jinn that he's dead? Look, what happened is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the whole environment, all earth, under the control of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Complete control. Everything was working for good, for achieving good, for establishing good, for benefiting things. The jinn is working, as well as the birds, as well, this, including the dabbat al-ard, including the worm or the bug or the termite and earth. It's working for good. Will never do anything bad. Working good. One day, Sulaiman alayhi salam died. All of a sudden, the jinn noticed something outside of the norm, which is they're used to. Everybody's doing so good. This time, this termite started to do something bad, which is to us a human being is bad. What is that? It started to eat the king within minutes. When they saw it, like, wait a minute, how could it be? They looked up the jinn, they found out, they looked up, say the termites went outside of the line, they went outside of the performance task they were supposed to do good. Now it's eating a cane. They looked up at Sulaiman alayhi salam, they found out he was dead. So his death is actually made the shukr stop. So the allowance of the giving of everything, including the termite to do good, stopped also as well. Now the termite started to do different things. Like eating a cane or eating something that is, good. It's not started to act bad in a bad way. فَلَمَّا خَرَّ, when he collapsed, who خَرّ? What collapsed? Who collapsed here? The scholar said two things. Could be the collapse of the system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has built for Sulaiman alayhi salam. It's not Sulaiman necessarily. Sulaiman, as to when he fell, as Sulaiman alayhi salam fell, it's not really just Sulaiman. It's the system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed for Sulaiman to maintain and keep. When he would completely everything collapsed, because the shukr stopped, he died. He's no longer making shukr. What happened is that the whole system collapsed. The whole system no longer as it was before. It has like as if the shukr is like pillars, was actually holding up the entire system Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built around Sulaiman alayhi salam. He had the control of wind and control of the bugs and control of termites and the control of jinn and control of all this that is doing so good because shukr is continuing. When the shukr stopped, everything collapsed. It's no longer applicable anymore. Right? فَلَمَّا خَرَّ, when it collapsed, the jinn looked up and said, we did not, they thought, if we knew the unknown, if we knew the metaphysical, we wouldn't have been in this torture. If we knew that if we are really making shukr continuously, we wouldn't have been in this torture. We would have been in the place of Sulaiman. Things would have happened to us. Instead of us being utilized for Sulaiman alayhi salam, we would have been in the place of Sulaiman. We would have been in the place of, they found out something unknown to them at the time. It was unclear to them. Is that the unknown at this point? Either meaning. You grab or you take. And both could be applicable, and there's no conflict here in the Quran. Either meaning you take. The point is we need to understand how much the shukr will give you, how much his gratitude will grant you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us from the beginning, He says, if you make shukr, and the more shukr you make, the more I will give you, the more I will grant you, the more giving I will give you. The more gratitude, the more giving. And the more giving, it constitutes more shukr, more gratitude. No, like this. This is a continuous system. Up to what point? Look at Sulaiman alayhi salam, either story, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted him. This is one story. Look at the shukr, look what has done for his own people. Let's look at the second story now. The second story here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about from the ayah number 15 to the ayah number 19. Four ayah for both stories. Look at this. لَقَدْ كَانَ لِسَبَإٍ فِي مَسْكَنِهِمْ آيَةٌ. There was for Saba, people of Saba, in their maskan, in their place of residence, the place of dwelling. Ayah, there's a sign, there's a signal, there is a ibrah, there's a lesson to be taught, there's a lesson to be learned. Jannatan, two jannah, an yamin wa shimal, on the right and on the left. Yamin is right, shimal is left. كُلُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ رَبِّكُمْ. Eat from the rizq, the sustenance, the good what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. وَاشْكُرُوا لَهُ. Make shukr to Him. Eat, utilize, and make shukr, show gratitude. And what else you'd want? بَلْدَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ. A good, beneficial belda, city, metropolis, place of living, a country, you know. وَرَبٌّ غَفُورٌ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala غَفُور. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all forgiving. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all easy on His subjects, easy on His creation. What else you'd want? Eat, benefit, enjoy, and make shukr. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives. And the rule is this. Look here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have given Saba. And who's Saba, by the way? Saba is people who used to live in Yemen. It's possibly one of the greatest civilizations humanity has ever known. It was well known in the history. There was at a certain point and this is mentioned in the other books, the people of Sheba and the people of Yemen, Ma'rib, and this is called Siddu Ma'rib. What happened is that there was in a mountainous area where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there was kings that they were living there, the earlier Arab, the Arabian tribes, they were living there. Actually, they were all united. Their origins coming from that area. What happened to them is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the knowledge and gave them the know-how. They built a dam between the mountains and they utilized the water in the most beneficial way, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted them not one Jannah, two Jannah on two sides of the mountain. And some people say, why is it two Jannah? Why wouldn't it be three or four? Why wouldn't it be one Jannah? Well, just because of the direction of the sun. Maybe some scholars said because the sun hits it in one afternoon, so you get some kind of fruit, and you get the sun hitting the other side, that would get different fruit. Or the production of it would get more because winter and summer you get like always continuous production all the time because of this water. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about this dam, what has happened to them. Now these people here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them two Jannah. The point is, it's not to discuss Jannah left or Jannah right, or Jannah on top or Jannah on the bottom. Was it melon and apples? Was it pears and bananas? It's not about that. It's about the giving of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them two Jannah. Beautiful things as to contains everything, could left and right, everything that you could possibly desire. And He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to them, or He gave them the instructions as to, كُلُوا مِنْ رِزْقِ رَبِّكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لَهُ. Eat from the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make shukr to Him, make sure gratitude to Him, from ibadah, from dhikr, from being thankfulness, and on, whatever. And it says, بَلْدَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ وَرَبٌّ غَفُورٌ. بَلْدَةٌ طَيِّبَةٌ, good, beneficial balad, the city, metropolis, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ghafoor. What happened? Look, Sulaiman, look at Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam. What they have done. He made more shukr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him more to amazing levels. Unbelievable levels. Even after Sulaiman alayhi salam died, the benefits still continued of what he has been given. But look what these people did. The people of Saba. فَأَعْرَضُوا. They turned away. And we know that turn away, so must be something was given to them. Something was, was offered to them. And the scholar said that, some scholars said that they were given more than 70 or 90 different prophets and messengers, and they denounced, they made i'rad. And we say the word i'rad means to turn or to give somebody your side, to give him your right side. In other words, you turn away from him, فَأَعْرَضُوا. To turn away. They never listen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him so much, give him the well, give him the water, give him the Jannah. The Jannah is so vast, so huge. Some scholars also in Tafsir ibn Kathir, he says that in order for you to pick any fruits, you don't have to pick anything. Or with, some of the women, some people used to carry baskets on top of their heads or between their heads and walk. And by the time they're walking from one place to the other, the baskets would be filled with fruits, only with the things falling into their baskets. How great this Jannah is. And we're talking about the Jannah garden that's covered either from the top or the bottom. You don't see the grounds in it because it's so luscious and so green, or from the top because the trees are so green and the shrubbery is so thick, you don't get to see any sun in it. Amazing, right? فَأَعْرَضُوا. They turn away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says next ayah, the remainder of the ayah number 16. فَأَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ سَيْلَ الْعَرِمِ. We have sent to them sail, the flood of arim. The arim is the overwhelming, the overtaking, the one that takes over. Arim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them in other words, the dam collapsed. And this was the historical facts. And from this tribe, everybody took off from there. And this is where the Arabian tribes have come from. Like, for instance, Al-Aws wal-Khazraj, as we know, they're in Medina, they're the Ansar. They're actually originally, few generations before, around the year 1700 before, before Christ's time. Around that time, they were one tribe living there, but eventually dispersed. They went everywhere at that point. And some of them actually lived in Medina, and this is where the Aus and the Khazraj come from. Khuza'a, they went there. They went to an area. Khaza'u ilayha. They made Khaza' to that area, and they became Khuza'a. Bani Bakr, the children of Bakr, they came from there, and on and on. All of them coming from that area. So, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what has happened to them? The dam collapsed, was not maintained, collapsed. Number one. Number two, وَبَدَّلْنَاهُمْ بِجَنَّتَيْهِمْ جَنَّتَيْنِ ذَوَاتَيْ أُكُلٍ خَمْطٍ. We have to exchange their two Jannah with another two Jannah. ذَوَاتَيْ أُكُلٍ خَمْطٍ. They both have ukul khamt, food that is not good, food that is bitter, khamt, not tasty, not appealing, it's not good. وَأَثْلٍ. Athil is a tree, it has a lot of thorns in it, وَشَيْءٍ مِّن سِدْرٍ قَلِيلٍ. And a little bit of trees that grew in that area, that it has a little bit of green leaves, not a whole lot, a little bit of benefit from it. So what is the story here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them, like what He has given Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman alayhi salam, Ali Dawood. Ali Dawood, they made more shukr. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them more, and kept going more until Sulaiman alayhi salam died, and even after the death of Sulaiman alayhi salam. These people here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them a beautiful two Jannah and a dam and water and gave them the control of everything. They turned away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to them punishment, the running water, the running flood, run away and exchanged the two Jannah with two Jannah instead of having luscious greens, benefit in it, and on and on. And they exchange them with dead trees, thorny trees, no products, no food, everything gone away. No shukr, the ata stopped, the giving stopped. No gratitude, no more giving, and vice versa. The ata is there, the giving is first, is given. The more shukr you return back, the giving will increase even more and more. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, next ayah number 17, ذَلِكَ جَزَيْنَاهُمْ بِمَا كَفَرُوا. That is what we have made jaza to them. That's how we punish them. Jaza could be used as a reward or punishment. It means payback from jaza. And that's what we say when we're thankful to somebody. Say, Jazak Allahu khayran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you good. And if it's jaza means good always, so I don't have to say it. I say Jazakallah. Jazakallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you back something. But say khayr, good, give you back something good, like that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ جَزَيْنَا. That's what we have given them because of what? Bima. Because of what they made kufr with. They denounced. They did not make shukr. They did not show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a rule. وَهَلْ نُجَازِي إِلَّا الْكَفُورِ. And will we punish, or will we make jaza to somebody except al-kafur, except the one who denounces, except somebody who turns away, except somebody who does not show thankfulness, except somebody who does not give gratitude? This are the only ones we punish. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the next ayah here, the ayah number 18. And look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us another example too. وَجَعَلْنَا بَيْنَهُمْ وَبَيْنَ الْقُرَى الَّتِي بَارَكْنَا فِيهَا قُرًى ظَاهِرَةً وَقَدَّرْنَا فِيهَا السَّيْرَ سِيرُوا فِيهَا لَيَالِيَ وَأَيَّامًا آمِنِينَ. And we have made between them and the Qura and the rest of the villages, the rest of the metropolises, the rest of the cities, the ones we have given barakah, extra good in it, that's unexpected. Barakah means something unexpected or unusual, extra good in it. Quran Zahira, clear, very, their existence is very beneficial, it's very clear. Zahir min al-Zuhur, it's their exist. And we made taqdeer in the sayr. And the sayr, the walking in between, we made it in exact intervals, in good intervals. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell them, Siru fiha, walk in it, layaliya, nights, wa ayyaman, days, aminin, in a state of safety. The scholars talk about this. They said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the benefits Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, given them specifically, and you got to keep an eye, even though it's a specific story about the people of, Saba, it's actually applicable to all of us, applicable to all mankind. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. Not only given them an area and Jannah, but also gave them ways of communication, ways for them to travel. That at the time, what they used to do is that they used to travel from Yemen all the way to Sham, all the way to the north. They used to trade, they used to do different things, and they used to travel in safety. So they always knew, travel in safety. They never had any harm to come upon them. There's no animals that attack them, or night beasts, or wolves, or coyotes, or whatever it is. And they were always in state of safety. And they used to go from one city to the city to the city, like days and nights and days, with complete safety, like a chain of ease and accessibility for travel for them to establish and do their jobs. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made taqdeer in this sayr. Like today, subhanAllah, watch this. You know how difficult it is, like say if you want to travel from, say, California all the way to Washington, and how much of a distance this is, and there isn't a single city in between, how difficult that would be? Extremely difficult. How about if you travel from here to there, but every 4 hours, or every 2 hours, whatever it is distance, like every 30, 40, 50 miles or so, that there's a city, there's a place where you can stay, there's hotels, there's entertainment, there's restaurants, there's grocery stores, and on and on. This is part of the ease, part of the good things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide His own people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that for them. Travel in there in safety, right? What did they do? Look at the type of i'rab. Compare this to what they've done before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them 2 Jannah. They turned away. They did not make gratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took it away from them and exchanged the 2 Jannah, the good trees, the good benefit things with the water, with bad trees, thorny trees, very bad effects on the other side. Now, in here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them another benefit, but you can look at it in a different perspective. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving them cities for them to travel and specific intervals. What did they say? The ayah number 19. فَقَالُوا, they said, رَبَّنَا, they made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Said, رَبَّنَا بَاعِدْ بَيْنَ أَسْفَارِنَا, distance our travel. They did not want the ni'mah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making these cities so close together to make it safe and secure for them. They did not want that. They wanted it to be distanced. وَظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ, they transgressed against themselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, because of this, فَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَحَادِيث, we made of them talks and stories to be told about them. Look at the denouncements, what they've done. They're not only فَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَحَادِيث, as that we made the whole mankind talking about them because of their evil doings and bad things they have done. وَمَزَّقْنَاهُمْ كُلَّ مُمَزَّقٍ, and we have split them and turned them apart in every which way. And sure enough, that's what has happened, where, like I mentioned, all the Arabian tribes have divided, all over the Arabian Peninsula because of their actions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ, there is signs and signals, لِكُلِّ صَبَّارٍ شَكُورٍ, for everybody who is in state of patience and somebody who shows gratitude. Let's go back to this and explain a little bit about what is this strange request, the request from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Could be explained in a couple of ways. Scholars said, at the time, the travel was so easy, was so accessible. When they used to travel from Yemen to Sham to make trade, to bring products to sell and buy and do whatever. What did they say? They made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say, Ya Allah, distance our travel. Some scholars like Ibn Abbas and on, they said that what they asked for is that the class of traders, the one who trade, the merchants and on, they did not want this accessibility to everybody. They wanted it to be distanced so only the few could do it. Only the ones who have this means for them to be able to travel, they will be able to travel. So by creating monopoly, by preventing the good from surrounding their ummah, their people, and actually went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, Ya Allah, ba'id bayna asfarina, make it more distant. We don't want it to be easy. We don't want to just travel for a few hours. Anybody would do it otherwise. So the ones they wanted the one of power, they wanted to distance, they wanted to create more burden on everybody else. In other words, it's a form of denouncement or denouncement of good or keeping the good away from others. The famous story is a true story. Look it up. If you travel today in LA, actually it was way more prominent about 10, 15 years ago. We used to see a lot of railroad tracks everywhere. And the city of Los Angeles, or actually, Los Angeles all the way to the valley on. They had a great, public transit system. What happened is that in the 60s, three companies came about. And I mentioned to you the story. And I'm giving you an example of today what's going on. Three companies came about. One of them is General Motors. One of them is Firestone, a tire company. And the third one is Standard Oil. They came in and they bought all these railroad tracks system completely. They bought them all out. Piece of land with the tracks, with everything. And they put it out of business. So instead of people benefiting from a public transit system people benefit from, these three companies came in, a company who makes cars, a company who makes tires for the cars, and a company who produces oil to be used in the cars. They bought it and put it out of business to force people to buy cars, to use more gas, more oil products, and to wear more tires, to use more tires. What did they do? Exactly like the people of Sabah have done. Instead of something easy and accessible to everybody, they wanted to restrict it, to stop the good from spreading. They bought it and put it out of business. It was out of business for almost 20, 30 years until finally some of the municipalities, they decided to create some kind of mass transit system and put it back into service again. This is what you see today, the blue line, the red line, and subways and on, because they're utilizing some of the land was actually allocated for these tracks, at the time. Look at the form. You got to look at a gratitude in different ways. Some people, unfortunately, especially Muslims, we think of gratitude, of shukr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is for us to make salah. It's for us to utter dhikr. This is definitely a form of gratitude. Yes, no questions asked. Some Muslims today, we think that making siyam is definitely a form of gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. How about you're good to your neighbor? It's a form of gratitude. How about if you're good to your community? How about if you're spreading the good? How about if you make salam to everybody? Ifshar salam. It's definitely a form of gratitude. But also form of gratitude, form of shukr, is that for you to do good for your community and for you to stop the evil from occurring into your communities. And look at the people of Sabah, what they've done. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us two examples of the form of denouncement, form of stopping the gratitude. Number one side of it, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given him the two Jannah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the dam. This infrastructure collapsed because they're not making shukr. They turned away from their prophets, their messengers, their message. They don't make shukr anymore. They said, it's going to destroy the dam. It's always there, always going to benefit. We don't care. That was bad. The dam was destroyed. Also, something else they've done. They wanted to monopolize the good for themselves. They did not want the good to spread to others by distancing the travel. As an example here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's going to do to these people? Look what He has done. tore them up. We made the stories of them to be told, and we tore them up in every which way. كل ممزق, in every which way of tearing up. We tore them apart. They're no longer related. They're no longer speaking the same language. They're no longer coming back from the same tribes. They're actually attacking each other. They're robbing each other, like what's going on in the Arabian Peninsula between the different, tribes and Bedouin tribes that used to go after each other. All those people in the Arabian Peninsula, at a certain point, they're one ummah, one nation. Actually, come to think of it, whole humanity was one nation. Today, we should not be saying African, European, American, Middle Eastern, Far Eastern, subcontinent. We're all one nation. We're all one people. How are we divided like this? How come today we have this animosity? We have this kind of, a bigotry. How come you're there? You're black and I'm white, and this guy is, Asian. This guy is European. This guy is, indigenous, and this guy is Aborigine. And on. Where did this come from? Because of our own deeds. Because of what we have done. Because of our evil deeds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this division amongst us. Like the collapse of the whole civilization, like the collapse of the dam, like the collapse of the shukr, like the collapse of the shukr at the days of Sulaiman alayhi salam. When that shukr stopped by the death of Sulaiman alayhi salam, the benefits stopped with it also as well. Remember this relationship. Giving, granting, generosity has to be matched by an equal force on the other side, which is shukr, gratitude. Otherwise, the first power will collapse, will fall apart, because the second one does not exist like that. That's one meaning. Actually, there's another meaning we could take from it. What did they do? قالوا ربنا باعد بين أسفارنا. Distance between our travels. Some scholars, and this is current scholars, they describe this kind of distancing the travels in a different meaning. In the days of the Saba, this travel was for a good benefit, for something good, for them to trade, for them to bring benefit, to benefit from another. But when you distance your travel, in other words, you indulge, you're no longer traveling, you're no longer doing good, you're just kind of going there for enjoyment and travel more and more, you waste time, you waste energy, you waste resources, you no longer have given shukr for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving you. You're distancing the travel. You don't want to go to Bilad Sham now, you want to go further and further and further. Kind of like the indulgence of some nations, what we do, especially what we see today. How many people out there, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to climb Everest? And for what? Why are you spending so much money for? What are you going out there for? It's not a sport. It's not, it's what? Just to take a picture up there on top of the mountain? And for you to spend $500,000, don't you think you should spend this $500,000 or even sometimes more for you to, to give the poor, to benefit your community? Bad business. This kind of indulgence. Look what people do today. Like, they leave school for a year or 2 years saying, you know what, I want to travel the world. Travel the world for what? What are you going to benefit from? What kind of benefit people going to get from you by doing this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made things accessible and easy to benefit from. What do we denounce this ease and good and beneficial? And we want to create more things because we want to deviate away from the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be wasteful, to be, not beneficial, to do things that doesn't do good for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not allow that. Does not like this not type of gratitude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow. People who do this, people who are wasters, they waste. They're not focusing on the good things at hand. They're not focusing on giving others benefit. They're just sitting there splurging, wasting, making things more difficult, making more things, kind of interesting and this and that, whatever it is in their minds. That's not the ways of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to benefit our communities, our societies, to benefit others from our actions, our own deeds. That's another point we should be very, very attentive to in our lives. Every step you make, every plan you make, every action you want to do, every deed that you commit, think about it. what's the benefit of it? How much money are you going to spend in it? How much energy are you going to spend in it? What is the use of it? What are you going to benefit? What is the community is going to benefit from it? How many times we see people go on vacations? Like for instance, they go somewhere, which is fine. Vacations are fine. It's perfect halal in our deen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And yeah, you look at them sometimes, you say, subhanallah. You find our brothers, our sisters, the Muslim Ummah, all over the world and across the map, anywhere you go, you find them in need. You find them they're in dire needs. And you're going out there splurging money for you to enjoy sitting at the beach and, somewhere here, there, whatever, Caribbean, whatever it is, Florida, whatever it is, and just kind of, what's the point? You want to do something good, go out there, spend your money for something beneficial. Do not distance things, do not make it more difficult for you to get like a little bit of pleasure, a little bit of temporary pleasure that's completely unbeneficial to your community, to your society, of the lives that we live in. That's something to think about. Maybe that is the meaning, or maybe both meanings are applicable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the ayah number 20. وَلَقَدْ صَدَّقَ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ فَاتَّبَعُوهُ إِلَّا فَرِيقًا مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And Iblis, صدق, he made it true what his promise was, what he has told them, what he thought was going to be. The scholar said that is what the saying of Iblis to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala earlier on, like in Surah Sad, when he addressed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, says, Ya Allah, just give me, فَانْظُرْنِي إِلَى يَوْمِ يُبْعَثُونَ. Just give me a time. Give me a little bit of grace period until the day you resurrect them. I will dissuade them. I'll get them completely off the path except ibadak al-mu'minun. This is what he thought. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that chance. He says, go ahead. Give me the time that, and I will torture you and them if they follow you. So this is his dhan. This is his thinking. Is that the bad people, the evil people, they will follow his ways. فَقَدْ صَدَّقَ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ إِبْلِيسُ ظَنَّهُ. They followed him. They followed his ways. They followed the incorrect. And remember, what is the ways of Iblis? It's batil. Batil is the opposite of haqq. The batil is wrong, false, and completely ever-changing. So they followed him, except a group from al-mu'mineen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 21, وَمَا كَانَ لَهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ سُلْطَانٍ. And there's no power for him to come upon them. There's no power that he has that will come upon them. Except إِلَّا لِنَعْلَمَ مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِالْآخِرَةِ. Except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show his knowledge who believes in the day of judgment, in the day of accountability, from the ones who is completely in doubt in it and he does not know about it. وَرَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ حَفِيظٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is keeper upon everything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that don't ever think that the shaitan, Iblis, has power upon these people. He has no power. He has no control over them. Except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give enough power for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to know who is truly going to believe in the day of judgment and to do good in this earthly life in preparation for the day of judgment, in preparation for the meeting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to distinguish these people who believe in that versus the ones who are in severe doubts in it. And رَبُّكَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ حَفِيظٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is keeper upon everything and anything. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open our hearts and minds. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, give us the knowledge of the Quran and the ni'mah of following